"My baby is dying, please save him," a poor woman said, and a millionaire was watching. What he did shocked everyone around. The rain fell hard over Lusaka, pounding the streets like a drum. Water flowed in rivers down the gutters, thunder rumbled in the sky, and cold wind sliced through the air like a knife. Outside a glowing, expensive restaurant, a woman knelt in the mud. Her name was Simone, and she held her little son close to her chest. His body shook with seizures, his lips had turned purple, his eyes were half open, staring at nothing. "Please," Simone sobbed, clutching her boy tighter. "Someone help me. He's dying." The fine people inside the restaurant didn't hear her, or maybe they chose not to. They sat in comfort, sipping wine, laughing, eating warm food. No one looked outside. No one saw the mother crying in the storm. Simone's coat was thin and soaked. Her hair stuck to her face. Her knees were buried in the wet ground. Still, she refused to move. Her child was all she had left. Just then, a black SUV rolled up to the curb. The windows were tinted. The engine was quiet. Inside sat Michael, a rich tech businessman. His suit was clean, his hands rested on his lap. He was ready to go home. He looked out the window and froze. There she was, a woman, a child. The child was trembling. The woman was crying. Simone looked straight at him, eyes wide with fear. She stood and stumbled forward, waving her arm. "Please, sir," she cried. "Please help my son. He's not breathing well. I don't have a car. No one is stopping. Please, I'm begging you." Michael didn't move at first. He wasn't sure. Was this real? Simone pressed her hand against the glass. Her voice broke. "He's all I have. Please don't let him die." Michael looked into her eyes. Something in him shifted. The storm still raged, but inside that SUV, silence. And in that silence, a decision began to grow. Michael stared at the woman through the rainy glass. Her hand was still pressed to the window. Her lips trembled. Her eyes were red. He didn't open the door. Not yet. His voice was calm but sharp. "Is this a scam?" Simone shook her head quickly. "No, please, just look at my son." She moved aside so he could see the child in her arms. The boy's small chest shook with every breath. His fingers were stiff. His body was getting colder by the minute. "I don't have time to lie," she said. "I swear on everything I love, just help me." Michael's eyes dropped to the child. Something about him, his size, the way his head rested on his mother's shoulder, brought a deep ache to his chest. And suddenly a memory flashed. He was just a boy, sitting on the cold floor of a hospital. His mother had collapsed in front of him. He had begged for help. No one had listened. The nurses wanted money first, but they didn't have any. She died that night. Michael blinked. Rain hit the window harder now. His chest rose and fell. Then he moved. He hit the switch. The SUV door unlocked with a soft click. He stepped out into the rain without a word. "Driver," he called out, "open the back seat, now!" The driver quickly obeyed. Michael walked over and knelt beside Simone. She was soaked and shivering. "Give him to me," he said gently. Simone hesitated, then carefully placed her son in his arms. Michael held the boy close. "Get in," he said. "We're going to the hospital, now." Inside the SUV, Simone climbed into the back beside her son. The child whimpered faintly. Michael gave the driver quick directions, then sat silently, water dripping from his hair and coat. The SUV pulled into traffic, its headlights cutting through the storm. No one spoke. Simone stared at her child. Michael stared at the road. The silence was heavy, the fear was real. But for the first time that night, hope had entered the car. The hospital waiting room was cold and full of white lights. Simone sat on a hard bench, soaked from the rain. Her hands trembled as she held her son, Tinashe, close to her chest. He wasn't moving much. His breathing was weak. His skin was hot, but his lips were pale. A nurse rushed over and took him from her arms gently. "We'll take him now. Please wait here." Simone stood up, swaying on her feet. She looked like she might fall. Michael stood nearby, arms crossed, his clothes still wet. His sharp eyes followed every move, but his face was unreadable. A few minutes later, a young doctor came out. Her face was serious. "Are you the mother?" she asked. Simone nodded quickly. Yes. Is he okay? Please tell me he'll be okay. The doctor took a breath. Your son has pneumonia. His fever is very high and we're seeing signs of early sepsis. We need to admit him now and begin treatment immediately. Simone's heart dropped. Okay, please, do whatever it takes. The doctor hesitated. The medicine and overnight care are expensive. Do you have insurance or any way to pay? Simone looked down, her lips shaking. No. I lost my job. I don't have anything. Michael didn't move. He was silent, still watching. The doctor looked between them. Suddenly, Michael stepped forward. He pulled a black credit card from his jacket and placed it on the front desk. Run the bill, he said firmly. Treat him like he's my own. Everyone went quiet. Simone turned, eyes wide. Why would you do this? She asked, her voice a broken whisper. You don't even know us. Michael looked at her, and for the first time his voice softened. Because once, when I was small, no one did it for me. Simone stared at him, tears sliding down her face. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel alone. Michael stood alone in his penthouse, high above Lusaka. The lights of the city blinked below him. But inside the room, everything felt cold. He didn't turn on the lights. He just stood at the window, staring into the dark. His suit was still damp from the rain. His shoes left wet marks on the marble floor, but he didn't care. His mind wasn't in the room. It was years ago. He was a boy again, 9 years old, sitting on a dirty bench inside a crowded public hospital. His mother lay on a stretcher. Her breathing was slow, her skin pale. Please help her, little Michael had begged. She's all I have. But the nurses had only shaken their heads. No money, no treatment. He had searched his pockets, holding out coins, folded paper bills, everything he had. But it wasn't enough. His mother had turned to him, smiled weakly and whispered, I'll be okay, baby. She wasn't okay. She died that night, alone. Back in the penthouse, Michael closed his eyes. The pain still lived in him. He had promised himself that day. Never again. He built a company. He made billions. He wore suits and sat in boardrooms. But behind the power, he hid from the pain. Until tonight. Simone's tearful face. Tinashe's shaking body. It had torn down a wall he thought would never break. He sat on the edge of the leather couch, breathing heavily. What was he doing? Helping strangers? Risking headlines? He stood up suddenly. He grabbed his car keys. He didn't care about the press or his reputation. Not tonight. Tonight, there was a child in a hospital bed. A mother still sitting alone. And maybe this time, he could do what no one did for him. Every morning, Michael returned to the hospital. He brought something new each time. Small toys, soft cookies, a box of juice, or colorful storybooks. He always entered quietly, but Tinashe's eyes would light up the moment he saw him. Uncle Michael! The little boy squealed one morning, stretching his arms. Michael smiled and lifted him gently into a hug. Feeling stronger today, little man? Tinashe nodded with excitement and pointed to the Lego blocks at the corner of his bed. Simone watched them from the window. Her heart was still tired, but the fear had started to fade. This man, this powerful, wealthy man, who once looked untouchable, now sat cross-legged on the hospital floor, building lopsided castles with a 2-year-old boy. You missed a brick, Tinashe giggled. Michael laughed. Then show me how to fix it. Simone stepped closer. She sat near them, quiet, still unsure how to feel. She looked at Michael carefully. His expensive watch still glittered under the hospital lights, but his eyes were softer now. He wasn't just visiting. He was present. Thank you, she said softly, folding her hands in her lap. Michael didn't look up right away. He clicked 2 Lego bricks together and handed them to Tinashe. Then he said, You don't have to thank me, he's worth it. Simone's throat tightened. For a moment, no one spoke. They just sat there, mother, child, and a man who had once known nothing about them, but now showed up every day. Tinashe laughed as their castle toppled over. Michael shook his head. We'll build a stronger one next time. Simone smiled faintly. It was the first time in days her lips had done that. And in that quiet room, under white lights and soft beeping machines, Something gentle began to grow. Not just trust, not just gratitude, something deeper. The morning sun had barely risen when Michael's phone buzzed nonstop. He rubbed his eyes, sat up in bed, and reached for it. Dozens of messages filled the screen. Missed calls, alerts, news headlines. He tapped one. Tech mogul. Michael in secret affair with street mother. Photo. Man seen cradling sick child in hospital storm. His heart dropped. He scrolled quickly. The photo showed him holding Tinashe outside the hospital. Simone was beside him, soaked and crying. It had been a private, painful moment. Now it was everywhere. Michael stood up quickly. He put on his suit and grabbed his keys. The company's stock had dropped overnight. The board sent warnings. "You're trending," one message read. "Fix this or step down." He didn't reply. Instead, he drove straight to the hospital. Simone was sitting by Tinashe's bed, reading a story. She looked tired, peaceful, until she saw his face. He burst into the room, voice hard. "Did you do this?" he demanded. "Did you set me up? Are you using me for fame? For money?" Simone blinked in shock. "What?" "No," she said, standing slowly. "I didn't tell anyone anything." Michael raised his phone. "Then how did they get this? Who took this picture?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know. I swear to you, I never asked for your name. I never wanted this. I just wanted help for my son." He stared at her for a long, heavy moment. Then something inside him shut down. The warmth was gone. The walls came back. Michael turned without a word and walked out of the room. Simone's voice followed him. "Please don't go. Please don't believe I'd do this to you." But he didn't stop. The man who had opened his heart just days ago was gone, and the silence he left behind felt colder than any storm. It was late at night. The hospital halls were quiet, filled only with soft beeps and the low hum of machines. Simone sat beside Tinashe's bed, her hands gripping the thin blanket. Her eyes were puffy from crying. Her son had just suffered another seizure, worse than the last. His little body had shaken so hard, she thought he might stop breathing. Now he lay still, weak and pale. A new IV dripped slowly into his arm. Simone didn't move. She stared at the floor, her heart broken all over again. "Please stay with me," she whispered to her son. "Don't leave me too." She didn't know that Nurse Moyo had quietly stepped out and made a call. She had seen the way Michael looked at this child. She knew he cared, even if he had walked away. Now, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Simone didn't look up until a familiar voice broke the silence. "Can I sit here?" Michael asked gently. Simone gasped and turned. He was there. His suit jacket was off. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked tired, but he had come. She stared at him, her voice shaking. "I thought you left us. I thought we didn't matter." Michael slowly sat beside her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I was angry. I was afraid." She looked down at Tinashe. "He kept asking for you, every day." Michael reached out and touched the boy's small hand. "I came as soon as I heard." Simone's tears spilled again. Michael leaned closer and wrapped his arms around her and Tinashe, pulling them in gently. "I'm not leaving again," he said. "Not anymore." For a moment they just sat in silence, holding on to each other. The hospital room was still. Outside, the wind whispered softly against the glass. Simone rested her head on his shoulder, her body finally relaxing after days of fear. Michael closed his eyes and held them tighter. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Days passed slowly, but Tinashe began to get better. His fever dropped, his strength returned. The color came back to his cheeks. And each day, Michael was there, on time, never late. He brought puzzles, juice boxes, toy cars, and new books. Sometimes he brought nothing but his smile, and somehow that was enough. Tinashe laughed more now. He liked to sit in Michael's lap, asking questions, telling stories, or building towers from blocks. "Uncle Michael, look, my house has 6 windows." "That's better than my first house," Michael laughed. Simone watched them from across the room. At first she had been unsure, but now Each time Michael came, her heart eased. He was no longer just the rich man who helped once. He was part of their world now. One quiet evening, after Tinashe had fallen asleep with a comic book in his lap, Simone sat beside collaborated Michael near the hospital window. The city lights blinked in the distance. She turned to him and asked softly, "Why are you still here?" Michael didn't answer right away. He looked down at his hands, then at the sleeping child. "Because I care," he said finally. Simone blinked, her throat tight. She wasn't used to kindness that stayed. Then a little voice broke the silence. Tinashe, half asleep, mumbled, "Uncle Michael, you break all my walls." Michael looked up sharply. He smiled, but there was something deep in his eyes, something he hadn't shown before. He swallowed hard. "Maybe I needed that," he whispered. Simone reached out and touched his hand. He didn't pull away. The hospital room was quiet again, but it felt full of peace, of slow healing, of something warm and growing. They hadn't planned this. They hadn't asked for it. But somehow, in the middle of pain and fear, they had started to become a family. Months later, the sun shone brightly over Lusaka. A large banner hung above a small outdoor stage. The New Dawn Foundation, for mothers, for children, for hope. Reporters, nurses, and families gathered under white tents. Cameras clicked, microphones pointed forward. Michael stepped up first, wearing a light gray suit. His voice was calm, steady. "I built a company with numbers," he said. "But numbers don't cry in hospital beds. Children do. No child should suffer because their mother is poor." The crowd clapped. Some nodded with emotion. Then Simone took the mic. Her yellow dress fluttered gently in the breeze. "Not long ago, I was alone," she said, scared, wet from the rain, begging to save my baby. She paused, looking at Michael and then at the small boy by their feet. "We were strangers once," she continued, "but love made us family. That love saved us, and now we want to save others." The crowd rose in applause. Tinashe, dressed in a tiny navy blue suit, stood proudly beside them, holding a wooden box with the foundation's name carved on top. He smiled wide, eyes sparkling. That day wasn't just about speeches. It was a new beginning. Under the wide branches of a giant baobab tree, music played softly. Friends, nurses, and villagers gathered on wooden benches. Sunlight filtered through the leaves. Wildflowers lined the path. Simone walked slowly, wearing a simple ivory dress. Her smile was warm, her steps sure. Michael stood at the front, waiting beneath the tree. He wore a dark green traditional outfit with gold thread at the collar. Beside him stood Tinashe, dressed in a tiny white shirt and black trousers, proudly holding a small velvet ring box. The village elder began the vows. Michael took Simone's hands and looked into her eyes. "You both brought me home," he said quietly. Simone's voice shook as she answered, "You didn't just save him, you saved us." The guests clapped, some wiping away tears. Rings were placed, a kiss was shared. Then, hand in hand, the three of them walked back down the path, with drums and cheering all around. The sun began to set, painting the sky with orange and gold. Simone leaned closer and whispered to Michael, "You gave my son a future and gave me love I didn't know I deserved." Michael smiled. They didn't just survive, they had become a family. What would you do if a single act of kindness changed your life forever? This story reminds us that true wealth is measured by compassion, not bank balances. Never underestimate the power of showing up for someone in their darkest hour. My besties. If you believe in love, second chances, and chosen families, subscribe and join us for more stories that warm the heart. Lara lay on a thin hospital bed in a small clinic in Lagos. Sweat rolled down her forehead. Her body felt heavy, and her skin burned with fever. The white bedsheet was damp, and her breathing was quick and shallow. She held a phone close to her ear with trembling hands. Her voice was weak, but she tried to speak clearly. "Hello? I'm so sorry," Lara said, her voice shaking. "I've been preparing for this interview, but I'm very sick. I'm in the hospital right now. Please. I truly want to come." A cold voice cut her off on the other end of the line. "Ma'am, we do not reschedule interviews. If you are not here at the exact time, your application will be canceled. Thank you. Click. The call ended. Lara slowly lowered the phone. Her arm dropped to the side like all her strength had left her. She stared up at the cracked ceiling, blinking back tears. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Please don't take this chance away from me. My daughter, she deserves a better life." In the corner of the room, a little girl sat quietly on a plastic chair. Her name was Lily. She was 5 years old, with big brown eyes and short curly hair tied with blue beads. Her feet swung above the floor as she watched her mother. She didn't speak. She just sat still, her small hands folded in her lap. She had seen her mother work hard, suffer, and hope for something better. Now, she was watching her cry, and she knew she had to do something. The sky outside was still a soft gray when Lily opened her eyes. The hospital room was quiet. Her mother lay asleep, her face pale, lips dry, and skin hot from the fever. The IV drip clicked gently beside the bed. Lily slipped off the plastic chair without making a sound. She walked to the bedside and stood on her tiptoes. With one hand, she carefully moved a strand of hair from her mother's forehead. "Mama," she whispered softly, "you need to rest now." She looked at the brown leather bag beside the bed, the one her mother never let out of her sight. Slowly, she unzipped it and pulled out the clear folder. Inside was the resume, still clean and straight. She held it tight in both hands like a treasure. She walked to the corner where her clothes were folded in a small plastic bag. She chose her favorite outfit, a bright kitenge dress with pink, blue, and yellow flowers. Her mother had sewn it for her last birthday. She put it on carefully, then looked at her small sandals, worn but still good. She slid her feet into them. The folder looked big in her tiny hands, but she hugged it close to her chest. Lily walked to the door, looked back one last time at her mother, then stepped out. Lily stood at the side of the road just outside the hospital. Cars zoomed past. Street vendors shouted. Smoke from roasting corn filled the air. But she didn't flinch. She looked down at the paper she had taken from the fridge at home last week. A colorful flyer with a picture of a tall glass building. It had the company's name on it. Mabaso Group Holdings. And right beside it was a small number her mother had circled in red ink. Bus 24. Lily waited until she saw the Danfo with the matching number. The yellow bus pulled up roughly, brakes squeaking. People rushed in. A kind older woman helped her climb on. "Where are you going, small madam?" the woman asked, smiling. "To the big glass building," Lily said, hugging the folder tightly. "My mama is supposed to have a job there." The woman nodded slowly. "Then sit near me. I will tell you when to get down." Lily sat quietly, her feet swinging above the dirty floor of the bus. She held the folder like it was magic, like it could fix everything. Around her, Lagos buzzed with life. Cars honking, music playing, hawkers tapping windows. But in her heart, she felt calm. She had a mission. About 40 minutes later, the woman tapped her gently. "Your stop, little one. There it is." Lily stepped off the bus. In front of her stood the tallest building she had ever seen, its glass walls shining in the morning sun. She took a deep breath and walked toward the doors. The front doors of Mabaso Group Holdings opened with a soft whoosh as Lily stepped inside. Behind a big marble desk sat a woman with short braids and gold earrings. Her name tag read Ngozi. Ngozi was busy typing when a small shadow appeared at her desk. She looked up and blinked. Standing in front of her was a little girl in a bright kitenge dress, holding a folder almost half her size. Ngozi leaned forward gently. "Hello, sweetheart, are you lost?" Lily shook her head. "No, I'm here for the interview." Ngozi blinked again. "Interview?" "Yes," Lily said, standing straighter. "It's my mama's interview. She's very sick and couldn't come. But she really needs this job, so I came instead." For a moment, Ngozi didn't know what to say. People nearby had slowed down, watching the scene. 2 security guards began to move closer, frowning. Ngozi quickly raised a hand toward them. "No, it's okay," she said. Then she turned back to the little girl. "What's your mama's name?" "Lara Kabwe," Lily replied. Ngozi checked her computer. "Yes, she was scheduled for 9 today." She took a slow breath, then pressed a button on her earpiece. "Hello? Please tell Mr. Okonkwo to come down. No, don't ask questions, just tell him he needs to see this, it's important." She looked down at Lily and smiled softly. "You're very brave, my dear." Lily smiled back, clutching the folder tighter. On the top floor of Mabeso Group Holdings, Mr. Adam Okonkwo stood beside a large glass window. He was tall, dark-skinned, and sharply dressed in an off-white suit. Only 32 years old, he was already one of the most feared CEOs in Lagos. People said he didn't smile, didn't waste time, and didn't care much for anything outside business. His assistant entered quietly. "Sir, the last interview candidate, you might want to handle this one yourself." Adam frowned. "I thought I said I wasn't to be disturbed today." "I know," she said. "But this is different. Please come downstairs." With a sigh, Adam straightened his tie and stepped into the elevator. The ride down was silent. He expected another desperate applicant or some kind of mistake. But when the doors opened, he stopped. Right in the middle of the lobby stood a tiny girl in a colorful dress, holding a folder almost as wide as her chest. Her back was straight. Her eyes were steady. She turned and looked up at him. "Are you the boss?" she asked. "I am," he replied slowly. Lily stepped forward and handed him the folder with both hands. "This is my mama's. She was supposed to come, but she's very sick, so I came instead." Adam raised an eyebrow, surprised. "Why would you do that?" She lifted her chin, voice clear. "Because Mama deserves more than pain." The words hit him like a quiet hammer. He looked down at the folder, then back at the child. Around them, the whole lobby had gone silent. Adam took a long breath, then turned to the receptionist. "Ngozi, cancel my next meeting." "Sir?" He didn't repeat himself. Then he looked at Lily and gave the smallest nod. "Come with me." She smiled and followed him down the hallway. It was the beginning of something none of them could yet understand. The meeting room was large, cold, and full of glass. A long table stretched across the center, and big chairs lined both sides. Adam pulled out a chair for Lily. It was too tall for her, but she climbed up with quiet confidence and sat straight, her small legs swinging above the floor. He sat across from her, placing the folder gently on the table. For a moment, he just looked at her, this small girl who had walked into a world meant for grown-ups. "So, Lily," he said, his voice softer than before, "can you tell me why your mother wants this job?" Lily didn't rush. She placed her tiny hands on the edge of the table and thought for a moment. "Mama works all the time," she began. "She cleans other people's houses. She carries food on her head to sell to shops. She never gets to rest." Adam nodded slowly. "She doesn't buy anything for herself," Lily added. "Even when her shoes are broken, she says, 'These ones are still okay,' and then she buys me new ones instead." Adam glanced down at Lily's clean white sandals. He didn't say anything, but his face changed a little. "She used to go to school," Lily continued, her voice quiet. "She told me she loved learning, but when she had me, she had to stop everything." Adam's eyes didn't leave her face. "She told me one night," Lily said, almost whispering, "that she's tired of just surviving. She wants to use her brain again. She wants a job that sees who she really is." The room fell completely silent. Adam leaned back in his chair. No resume had ever spoken to him like this. And yet this child, with her truth, her love, and her hope, had just told him everything he needed to know. After Lily left the room with Ngozi, Adam remained seated, the folder still open in front of him. He looked down at the neatly typed words on the resume. The name at the top read Lara Kabwe. She had studied marketing at the University of Ibadan. Full scholarship, top marks, leadership roles, president of the student business club, peer mentor. Adam raised an eyebrow. She had been sharp, driven, full of promise. Then suddenly, the line of success stopped. No graduation, no internship. Instead, the next section read, house cleaner, street vendor, waitress, night shift janitor. He stared at it, slowly tracing the timeline with his finger. The story was clear without being told. A young woman with a bright future, suddenly forced to survive. Adam leaned back in his chair, silent. He had read thousands of CVs in his life, most full of big words and empty noise. But this was real. Adam closed the folder slowly. Something inside his chest, long buried and quiet, began to move. That afternoon, a delivery bike pulled up outside the small hospital. A nurse brought a small package into Lara's room and placed it on the bedside table. Lara stirred slowly, still weak from the fever. Her eyes opened halfway. Then she saw it. A neat bouquet of soft, colorful wildflowers stood in a glass jar beside her bed. Next to it was a small box wrapped in clean, cream-colored paper. A note leaned gently against it. Her hands trembled as she reached for the card. The handwriting was simple and neat. To the strongest woman I've yet to meet, Adam Okonkwo. Inside the box was a small pack of cold chocolate milk, her daughter's favorite. Lara sat up fast. Her heart began to race. "Lily," she whispered. Her eyes darted around the room. The chair was empty. Panic filled her chest. She grabbed her phone and quickly searched through her folder for the number on the company flyer. Her fingers shook as she dialed. "Hello, Mabaso Group Holdings," came a calm voice. "This is Ngozi speaking." "Please," Lara said quickly. "This is Lara Kabwe. I think my daughter may have come to your office today with my folder. She's only 5. I'm so sorry." Ngozi chuckled softly. "Don't worry, Miss Kabwe," she said warmly. "Your daughter is safe." Lara's throat tightened. "In fact," Ngozi continued, "she may have just earned you a second chance." Lara said nothing. She was too stunned to speak. The next day, a message was sent to the hospital. Mabaso Group invited Lara Kabwe to come in for a formal interview. Lara's fever had gone down, but her body still felt weak. Even so, she didn't hesitate. She washed and dressed carefully. Her skirt was simple, her blouse a soft navy color. She brushed her hair back into a neat bun. Her shoes were old but clean. Lily held her hand as they stood outside the glass doors of Mabaso Group Holdings. "You'll do great, Mama," the little girl whispered. Lara smiled, holding back tears. "Because of you, my love." Inside the building, the receptionist, Ngozi, greeted her with a warm smile. "Miss Kabwe, welcome. Mr. Okonkwo is expecting you." Lara followed her through quiet hallways. Her heart pounded with every step. When the door to the executive office opened, Adam Okonkwo stood by his desk. He looked different this time, less sharp, more human. He stepped forward, offering a firm handshake. "Miss Kabwe, I'm glad you're feeling better." "Thank you, sir," Lara said softly. Adam smiled gently. "Your daughter gave the most powerful interview I've seen in all my years here." Lara looked down, her cheeks warming. Adam pointed to the chair across from his desk. "Now," he said, "I'd like to hear from you." Lara nodded slowly, sat down, and opened her folder. This time she would speak for herself. A week later, Lara Kabwe walked into Mabaso Group as a junior associate. It wasn't a senior role, no big title, but it was a start. Some staff gave her polite smiles. Others didn't smile at all. She heard the whispers. "That's the woman with the child. She's only here because the CEO feels sorry for her." But Lara didn't let it break her. She arrived early, before the office even filled. She stayed late, long after others had gone. She read every document she was given, took notes in meetings, watched the senior team closely. How they spoke, how they moved, how they thought. She didn't ask for special treatment. She just worked, quietly, faithfully. And when she made mistakes, because she did, she apologized, corrected them, and never repeated them. One day when she stayed late finishing a report, a sandwich quietly appeared on her desk. No note, but she knew who had sent it. On another day when she called to say she'd be late, Lily had a fever. Adam's message was short and kind. "Family first, take your time." He didn't hover, he simply supported. And in that quiet, steady space, Lara began to grow. Not just in the job, but in the belief that maybe, just maybe, she belonged. Every Friday after school, a little burst of joy entered Mabaso Group's high-rise office. Her name was Lily. She came with her small backpack, coloring books, and a bright smile. The guards waved her in like she was royalty. The receptionist kept her favorite juice cold in the fridge. By now, she had her own special spot in Adam's office. A small cushion near the window, a box of crayons, and a tiny stool just her size. She would sit quietly as her mother finished work, humming and drawing pictures of animals, houses, and stars. Adam sometimes paused his calls just to glance over and see what she had drawn. One time she scribbled a crown on his head and called him the King of Papers. He laughed, a real laugh, and didn't correct her. The staff got used to her presence. In fact, they started to love it. They called her Little CEO. She waved at everyone in the hallway. She handed out stickers she got from school. She even once reminded the finance manager to take his lunch, because Mama says grown-ups forget. She didn't know it, but her quiet joy brought life to the office. And to Adam, she brought something he hadn't felt in years: peace. It was a quiet Friday evening. Most of the staff had gone home. The office lights were low, and the city outside glowed with orange sunset. Inside one of the meeting rooms, Lara and Adam sat side by side, reviewing slides for an upcoming presentation. Lily sat in the corner, curled up with a blanket and juice box, coloring silently. They worked in calm silence, occasionally sharing a smile or a joke. Then, just as Lara stood to pack her bag, a small voice broke the air. "Mama?" Lily asked. Lara turned. "Yes, baby." Lily looked up, her eyes big and serious. "Can I call Uncle Adam, Baba?" The room went still. Lara's hands froze mid-air. Adam blinked, his lips parted slightly. Lily continued softly. "He always picks me up. He brings me ice cream. He reads to me. And he makes you smile." Lara's throat tightened. She turned to Adam, afraid of what she might see, but he was already walking toward them. He bent down beside Lily and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. His voice was low, a little shaky. "It would be my honor." Lara weeps as Adam gently places a hand on Lily's shoulder. Her tears are not from pain this time, but from something softer, deeper: love. She has fought so long, so hard without help, and now here stands a man once cold, now open, choosing her child like his own. Something in Lara finally releases. Months pass. Her role at Mabaso transforms. No longer the woman with the child, she becomes a respected voice, precise, prepared, quietly powerful. She mentors, advises, grows. But beneath all her growth, one thing grows quietly too: her bond with Adam. It's unspoken but real. He looks up when she walks in. She saves him the last slice of banana bread. They speak less with words now, more with trust. Lily remains the heart of it all, still coloring, still reminding adults to rest, still watching with wide eyes. Without realizing it, she has stitched two hearts together. The end-of-year gala sparkles with lights, music, and laughter. Lara stands in a green flowing dress, glowing beside the Christmas tree. Lily twirls in silver shoes, her cream dress catching the lights as she spins. Adam watches from across the room, no numbers in his hands, just a quiet peace in his eyes. Later, someone taps a glass. Adam steps to the microphone. "Usually I talk about profits, but tonight I want to share a different kind of story." He tells the room about the tiny girl who came to the lobby with a folder twice her size, how she spoke with clarity, with courage, how her love brought one of the company's best hires. He lifts his glass. "To Lara Kabwe, and to the girl who believed in her before the rest of us did." He looks at Lily. "Family is not always blood." The room claps, emotional. Under the golden lights, they stand together, mother, daughter, and the man who quietly chose them both. In a city of traffic and closed doors, one little girl walked in, holding only her mother's dream. No one noticed, but she kept going. She didn't just carry a folder, she carried truth. Because of her, a mother was seen, a door opened, a future began. And love found its way home, quietly, powerfully. So if this story reaches you, remember, sometimes the bravest feet wear the smallest shoes, and the strongest love doesn't shout, it shows up. Who is your Lily? Comment below, share this story, subscribe for more. Love always finds a way.